So if you experience a situation where your system is not working, you shoot, nothing is appearing on the monitors, on your SDU you have a status light not going off, the signal LED might be on or off, there is a procedure to follow to find out where the issue might be. So we know that we have a few units in this chain. We have the SDU, we have a connection point at the firing line, we have the cable going all the way down to the target line, we have a connection point here, we have the power supply where the signal is basically just going straight through, and into the target server where we have the logic in the other end with some connectors in between all the way. So to do this in a logical way now, we have to start at the SDU and test the SDU as far as we can do alone, and then introduce one part at a time to find out where the issue is actually appearing. So the first step is actually to verify that the circuits in the SDU is working, and the best way to do that is actually to disconnect the signal connector, and if we examine the signal connector, we can see that we have the numbered pins there, and from the schematic we saw in the first video, we know that the current loop is on pin 1 and 2. So if we make a short circuit between 1 and 2, we are going to make a very local current loop just with the SDU and its signal cable. So let's try that. So a short circuit or a small wire is in place, connecting the 2 points, 1 and 2. And on the SDU we can see that the signal LED is off. So this is good news for the SDU, but we will still have to verify that when we remove this short circuit, that the LED is going to be on. So by removing it, we can see that it's on, and that's promising for the function of the SDU. So what we want to do now is basically the exact same thing. We want to just introduce one more part of the chain, and the signal cable down to the target line. So that's the next step now. So this is the connection box at the target line, and we have moved the wire piece down there and connected point 1 and 2 at the box, which is in the end of the signal wire going all the way up to the firing line. And it looks promising because the signal LED is off. But again, the problem might be that we actually have a short circuit somewhere in this cable. So we have to verify by again removing this short circuit and verify that without the short circuit and the cable in the system, that the signal LED is actually on. So again, good news for us in this respect. We have a system which is so far looking promising. Next step will be to introduce the power supply. So yeah, I will connect that. So we have connected the power supply to the signal cable, and we can move over to the first target, the target server, and then we can remove the ingoing connector there. If you have a system with the external target electronics, you will have cable 1 and 2, which is attached by terminals inside the box. On these targets where we have the internal target electronics, we have a connector we know from earlier, and we can see the connection point 1 and 2 again, and the procedure is basically exactly the same. We just introduce a new part of the chain. So we have connected 1 and 2. The power status of the power supply and for the targets it's not relevant. The signals are just going straight through in any case, so it's on or off, doesn't matter. But now we have the short circuit to the cable normally attached to the target server, and we see that the current loop is complete. But again, we need to verify, so we remove the connection, and this should result in a light in the LED because the current loop is not longer complete, and that makes sense in this case. Okay, so then we have to introduce the last part of the chain, and that's the target server. So we have now attached the target. Everything is basically connected, but we have not powered up the target line. And the power supply is connected to the signal, but it's not powered on. So targets are not powered, and that should result in an open loop. The moment we turn the power on to the targets, you can hear now the switch is switched on here, and then we see that when the target server is powered on, the light should go off. It means that a target server which is powered is going to conduct the current loop through, while an unpowered target server is not going to do that. If the target server is the issue, it might be that it's conducting all the time, or it might be that it is never conducting. So by doing the power cycle on the target server, it's going to tell you quite a lot about the status of the system in any case. If you have an issue with the target server and you have a system with multiple targets, remember that all the targets are basically the same. The target server is a regular target, it's just configured with these jumpers to be a target server. So if you have an issue with the target server target, you can take another target and reconfigure it and put it in this target's place to be a target server, and that should solve the case if the target server seems to be the issue.